Right, this is 1964 Carmann gear. We restored it last year and only discovered that when we put it on its wheels that the rear suspension is far too low. So today we're going to try and make adjustments to the rear suspension plate to raise the back end of the car up. Now, it's not quite a simple procedure, but we're to remove the wheel obviously and take off the shock absorber. We need to remove the side plate so it exposes the hole through which the torsion bar is going to come out. Now, to remove the torsion bar, we have to undo these bolts, 4 bolts around on the end plate. Remove the end plate. We also remove the bump stop. Disconnect the rear swing axle. We also need to disconnect the handbrake cable. The handbrake cable is disconnected from inside the car, and I'll show you that in a moment. And also to remove the shock absorber. So the swing arm can swing. If we go to the other side of the car, where to de-adjust the handbrake cable from, as you can see, the two adjusters on top of the handbrake lever. We remove those 2 lock nuts and the adjusting nut, and that will free off the handbrake cable, so it allows movement on the swing axle at the back. Okay. Masakra. Okay, let's go. Good afternoon. Here we are back at our Carmann gear restoration project. We had the body off and we sent away the chassis to be sandblasted and cleaned. Unfortunately, they've acid dipped the chassis, and which caused a chemical reaction between the shaft and its bearings inside the tunnel. So we've had to extract that shaft. You've seen on our previous work how we had to bash and modify and remove the shaft with a lot of brute force and ignorance. But now here I am, I'm just cleaning up the bolts here, the thread, insert thread bits to put the new end plates back on. But had I known earlier on, some of these have been damaged at some stage in their life, and having to retap them and rethread them. So, which I've just done. As you can see, there's no room to get the normal T-bar in, so I've had to use this adjustable spanner to turn the tap. Alright, so next you'll see with the stuff we're going to use, the parts that are here that we're going to use. I'll just show you that we were trying to extract the torsion bar, but the end plate would not come off. So we've had to cut all the end plate off, and by brute force and ignoramus methodology, we have managed to extract it. As you can see how rusty that was. The chemical reaction had taken place between the splines on this and the inner splines on the inside of the torsion bar tubes, and it had caused a sort of welding process. But with a lot of force and a lot of hammering, we've managed to get this both sides out, the left and the right one. So we're going to replace them with new ones. So we've got our torsion bar, we've got our end plate, or a spring plate as it's known. We're also going to put in new guide rubbers. This is the inner one, this is the outer one, and we've got our end plates. So we're going to now start off by putting our torsion bar in, set up our end plate onto it, measure our angles using the inclinometer. As you can see, as it inclines, the dial shows us how many degrees we are. We're going to start off at 20 degrees to start with. We're going to build up both sides, and then lower the car down and move it about so we can gauge the correct height of the car. As I say, we're going to start off at 20 degrees, but people have recommended on the net anything between 16 and 21, 22 degrees. We're going to start at 20 and we'll see how that goes on. Okay, so if you follow me, I'm going to now, with this torsion bar, I'm going to insert the torsion bar. But before we insert the torsion bar, we have to make sure that we have plenty of lube, and we're using this black grease here, molybdenite grease or molybdenum grease, to grease our ends here. Okay, and to do our rubbers, we're going to use a rubber lubricant, rubber grease, because normal grease, if you apply to the rubber, it will cause the rubber to deteriorate over time, because it's a petroleum-based grease. Okay, so here we are. We're going to put that in, and we'll see how that slides in. Through the outer hole, and into the tube it goes. We've already cleaned out the insides, and now it's on the splines there. As you can see, I'll just gently tap it in, and make sure that it sits in properly. Okay, so we'll come back in a few minutes, and we'll check it again. Here you see I'm just installing the end rubber, making sure that it's driven home properly. And of course you've got the rubber has grooves or indentations on it, as does the axle, so it fits in the right place. Okay. Now before I put the end plate, I'm going to grease that rubber with that rubber lubricant. There we are, to see the rubber lubricant. So, with lube inside, and make sure we've got plenty of lube on there. So what this does is prevents any squealing and squeaking. Because it's very annoying when you're driving a car and it starts squealing and squeaking, eh? Do you not think? So that's what we're doing. We're just putting the rubber lube in there, just making sure that we've got plenty of coverage. Right, I will now go and get my end plate and we'll slide it on to the sleeves. Finished. And there we are. This is a spring plate, and as I say, we're going to start it off at about 20 degrees. So I think there we are, going on, and I will check it as I get on the splines. Sorry, I had it wrong way around, I think.
Yeah, because this thing's going only one way.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to go one way. And now, because the rubber is on, it's going to be a bit of a palaver to get that on. And now, here we are. It's going on, nice and gently sliding in. All right, now. Lube the outside of the outside of the sleeve here as well. Unfortunately, what I should have done is tied this back up so it wasn't in my way. But, never mind, we'll see how it goes. I'll blame it on Richard. He's supposed to be looking after me and making sure that everything's...
I'm right behind you. I'm looking after you.
Because the rubber is there now, I am struggling to get it into the... slide into the rubber. Oh, good grief, man. They're taking it out of an old man. So we'll just use our inclinometer and just see if we're sort of at the right angle, and I think that angle is too much. See, that's 30 degrees, can you see? Just at 30 degrees. So we'll have to remove it and put it back. It will be at that sort of angle, I think. And again, I should have tied that axle back. That's about 21 degrees. So let me come back to you once I've tied this axle back, alright? Which I didn't tie. Here we are now. I've managed to push the axle back, and I'm holding it by an axle stand just to get it out of the way. So it's been easier just to push the whole thing now together with the axle out of the way. And you can see on the dial gauge that the angle of the spring plate in relation to the torsion bar is now at 20 degrees. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to try it at 20 degrees. We'll put the other side on as well, and then we'll come back to it. Now, next object is to push the spring plate up so the torsion bar takes up the tension, so we can slide it onto its locator on the axle. So we need to now raise this up and push this further in so it sits on the locator. Okay?
Both sides is done, bolted. Now wheels back on, cut on the ground, and we will see how looking this leather. Now important moment. All right. No but. like car needs to be higher. I'm not sure. I readjust the suspension again and car looks much better. The level is much better. Much better. When you compare front and rear, looks level. Anyway, we did wrong job last time. Wrong angle has to be 27 or 28, 1 degrees is tolerance. 27 degrees should be fine, is alright. I've done it 27 and looks like that. I'm happy with that.